Hey everyone, I'm Molly Rowan Leach, and it's great to see you out there in the world of restorative justice. Today, I would love to talk to you about what I believe, and others as well believe, to be at the heart of our work in conflict transformation. And that is no less than the importance of personal practice and the link that is scientifically proven between our inner space and the outer spaces that we are involved in, whatever those may be. The HeartMath Institute, I would like to point your attention to today and to point out to you how Howard Zehr's 3 R's of restorative justice link very directly into the urgency of personal coherence practices as practitioners. So we are practitioners of something that is a huge responsibility. It comes with individual and unique nuances with the people we serve, as well as the situations at hand, especially, of course, when we're talking about restorative practices that are conflict related, whether you're working with a court, whether you're working alongside and with a school or within one, no matter where you are in an organization of any kind where two or more are gathered, personal coherence in our lives is extraordinarily important, and certainly beyond the professional realm. There is no distinction between the personal and the professional when it comes to personal coherence. And I'd like to demonstrate to you why, specific to the field of restorative justice. And hopefully I'll do it in a manner that is super clear, and also brief because of our limited attention spans these days. I invite you to come out of that limited thinking and intent, or excuse me, not limited thinking, the limited attention span, and to drop into this moment with me, especially if you're in this field and feeling like things are just completely consistently chaotic, and that it's very difficult under all the pressures that typically we as nonprofit directors and staff of nonprofits who purport to be doing human rights work, restorative work, we often fall under the dysregulatory states that all of these pressures cause. And that's normal. That is a part of this. But how can we level up? How can we do better? How can we create a foundation, like a baseline within our own self that counteracts the reality of the pressures that a lot of times just seem really quite out of control. This rush to measurement. Very, very important to have statistics. Very important to have evidence-based practices. Very important to have funding. But yet it seems like there's such a variety, a massive variety of pressures on people trying to do good work in this world, trying to do the best they can to support people from getting caught in the school to prison pipeline, from the science that shows us that when someone is entangled with the criminal justice system in America or almost anywhere else, but America especially, that the perpetuation of harm and the impacts on our parasympathetic and nervous systems is so detrimental that it's almost impossible to escape from it. So we all know that we're on board with the values and principles of this work, I think, generally, especially when we find out what those mean to each other and not just say that we're doing it a certain way. I could go on for a long time about a lot of this stuff. I try and be as brief as possible, but I usually end up going way over time. So I digress. Let's keep it brief. Utilizing heart coherence. Number one, if you are in restorative justice or practices of any kind, cultivating dialogic containers, please consider this as the foundation for yourself, for your team, to return to as you're facilitating, just as a start. So you probably recognize here, I have up on the screen, the 3 R's from Howard Zehr. Dr. Howard Zehr, if you don't know who he is, he's written a lot of amazing books and photographic storytelling, as it were, of people who have been impacted by harm and crime, including victims, offenders, children of those incarcerated. He's an extraordinary gentle soul. He uses the art of photography to show the stories of people and beyond the field of RJ. But he's famous in a good way for coining the 3 R's of restorative justice, which are relationship, respect, and responsibility. And of course, we know that those are things that are a big shift away from punishment and proportional revenge in our traditional track of criminal justice. So when we look at the world and return to looking and practicing in the world as our indigenous cultures knew and have known for time immemorial, we are all connected. We are in relationship. We are here on this planet. We are not just in relationship with other two-leggeds. We are interconnected with a network of life that includes what might be termed in English as inanimate beings, which actually have a force and a life of their own. And that's acknowledged, of course, by the indigenous, but it's also been acknowledged now by science. If you need science to show you that this is real, it's done it. There is a field that connects us, and there is a ripple effect of what we're putting out there. We're radiating electromagnetism, whether we know it or not, and so is everything else. So that said, these 3 aspects of and values and ways of being and seeing are an offer, an invitation to find out together where is our common ground, because we come from diverse areas of the world, backgrounds, we each have unique life journeys, and yet where are the core areas that we really can find that connection? Besides the fact that we are interconnected, how can we acknowledge what we're showing up with in this moment in a conflict, and make sure that people feel like we're really activating the concept of belonging by acknowledging their deeper sense of belonging, that they truly belong here with us, and that their voice matters. So I want to demonstrate to you why heart coherence, which is a very simple practice of focusing on the heart and breath, and on a feeling of very sincere and amplified appreciation and gratitude, what that does to your practice as a facilitator, as a professional in conflict process and transformation of any kind. So we're not going to do the heart coherence practice right now, but you can look at the other videos here on the YouTube channel if you need guidance for that. This is all linked back to Heart Math Institute. So Google them or YouTube them. There's an abundance of great information there on their work, on their scientific research, free to the public. So highly recommend that. But relationship. So heart coherence practice, when you're in a regulated state as a facilitator and with your participants, you're not just coherent for yourself. You are biomagnetically radiating and communicating. And again, this is research. This is not just pulling out of the thin air something here that seems like a good concept. This is proven by the research. So that's not just Roland McCarty of Heart Math. It's also National Institutes of Health reports and research. So this is grounded. Our state of coherence enhances. As we also know, it can detract from others' coherence and ability to regulate. So we have everything in place now, which is so exciting. to point us to the fact of what we've already known, really. If you think about it, you know, and you can feel something when you walk into a room. You can feel that there's something going on. It could be like really magnetic, or a person can be really magnetic. They can seem very calm and draw you in, or they might seem like they're pulling you down and out of regulation. And we don't talk about these things in the verbal realm enough. We don't, in this field, value as restorative justice practitioners that all of these aspects are a part of the experience of facilitating. So maybe other people are naming this, and I just don't know, but I'm going to name it again, and respect and honor to those who have known this. Again, the indigenous of our world, they know this. It's not rocket science, but we've needed rocket science to help us to remember and come back, right? Our heart rhythms can synchronize. So we can, again, synchronize and support one another's upliftment into a return to coherence and parasympathetic balance, biomagnetic communication that is nonverbal, that is healthy, and that is like an invitation, just by being who we are out of that state, to invite others to uplift into a healthier and more receptive presence. So you can only imagine the implications that this has when we're setting dialogic containers and helping to cultivate them for our clients. So respect, we move on to the second R, as it were. Heart coherence practices and research back up nonverbal communication as equally potent to verbal. So the more that we can understand and value the nonverbal aspects of conflict work, I think the better off we will be immediately. We need to name it. We need to name that it's real. We need to become attenuated and sensitive again to these pieces. If we're not doing that, then we're missing an opportunity. We can transmit values without speaking. We can convey states of increasing trust without speaking. We can build a truly safe container. A safe container in this field is not just something that we say it is. We all know that, right? Like, have you ever been in a Zoom space or a conference process, conflict related, and someone just says, this is a safe space. You can say anything here. How does that land for you? Okay, so point taken, right? So we build safe containers together, and we do that by being mindful about our presence, about the nonverbal aspects of ourselves coming into this work and as a team, and really being sensitive to those once we land in a conference or a circle process that is conflict related. But I'm also talking about any kind of connection space, anything that we're doing in restorative practices work deserves this attention. Responsibility, the third R. Heart coherence practices and research leave no doubt of our responsibility to one another. We can influence regulatory systems of another. We can increase insight and transformative potential. We can support another to be seen, heard, and understood, both with dialogic skill as well as with energetic signals, which arguably are as potent as the verbal, if not more so. Because we know that when we're working in complex cases, where there's deep senses of trauma and realities of trauma, it's very important just to say right now that this is not a blanket practice, that recommendation that I'm making for your clients, especially if there's trauma, which almost every client will have trauma. Almost every facilitator, for that matter, has some level of trauma. We all are facing levels and layers of trauma. So this is, for example, There might be someone you're working with in a school that is shelterless, who has been physically abused. This would not be an immediate practice to use with them directly, but you can use it for yourself in order to enhance your ability to assess their needs, right? So I am not making a recommendation at all here that heart coherence practice is the first thing that you do with everyone. I'm making it as a recommendation for you, for me, to do for ourselves as professional facilitators, people holding dialogic spaces of any kind, conflict or non. So you have to use your own judgment as a professional in a school, as an educator, as a restorative justice facilitator or a program director, case by case, as to what might be most appropriate and how this can support your clients, if at all. It will support them no matter what, if you are doing it on your end, I guarantee you. So I hope this has been helpful. Please reach out to rjonrise@gmail.com. Leave some comments down below. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is growing. We are adding regular new drops each week, or at least twice a month, so to engage with you here more frequently. Really appreciate your work in this field and really appreciate the support that everybody has given us over the past decade and a half. RestorativeJusticeOnTheRise.org. We are a community-supported program of independent researchers, authors, faculty, and hands-on experiential directors and facilitators. So that's our unique niche in this field. We feel like we bring, and by we, I say myself and all the people that I've had the privilege of collaborating with in Zoom and on the ground spaces. So thanks for listening. Thanks for interacting. Leave questions down below and we'll interact with you more. All right. See you next time. Thank you.